All right. Our public hearing to order. Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for showing. We've been here for a good while, still trying to slap each other, so we're making sure we're awake here. The purpose of this public hearing is to discuss and receive comments in reaction to the ordinance regulating short-term properties. Planning and zoning commission has been working hard to create a draft of this ordinance. I hope everyone in attendance has had a chance to look over this most recent draft of this ordinance. And I've asked the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Mr. Dan McAfee, to present a summation of their research and efforts to design this. We'll go through the process this morning. Council members can ask questions and comments, and of course, anyone wishing some questions during this time, we'll let you all do that, of course. With that being said, Mr. McAfee, you have the floor. You can sit, stand, lie down, whatever you want to do.
I'll stand.
Okay. Or you can sit up here if you want.
That's good. What she said. This has been going on since September of 2022. We have had numerous meetings, open meetings here with the public. We have met with police chief, city attorney, Raven County officials. We've looked at Raven County's ordinance, Clayton's ordinance, City of Atlanta's ordinance, and this is what we have come up with after a year of beating this thing around. Essentially what this ordinance does is give people who want to turn their residential property into a business the opportunity to do so, but they must be licensed to do it. And to receive that license, they've got to agree to abide by the codes, ordinances, etc., that already exist in Sky Valley. If they agree to do that, they have the opportunity to get a license. If they fail to meet that requirement during the course of their business, they stand out the possibility of losing that license. And you want to know that business. Well, the city employees know more about that than I do. One of the things we've looked at is various internet-based companies that can help the city manage the information about these rentals, whether they're complying with those various ordinances I referred to, whether they're actually paying the taxes that are due, etc. It's a tool. That's all it is a tool to help the city manage the information about the rentals.
Okay.
Question?
Jim, David.
What does OCGA stand
Official code.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
for? Georgia code.
Yes. Any other questions or comments from the council? Jim.
Just to say, I've been following this issue for, it seems like
Jim.
a really long time.
It's really only been 1 year, although it seems like.
And there's a section on purpose and intent. It doesn't really get to the purpose and intent. The purpose and intent is really up in the third whereas. You know, each ordinance is included by a bunch of whereases. And the third one is blah, 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 to provide for the peace, safety, and tranquility for the citizens of Sky Valley. That's why we're doing this. We spend a lot of time in this ordinance talking about stuff like the safety of the people who are renting. But when you get right down to it, there have been problems at a handful of places. And I apologize to all my friends and neighbors who have been renting out and carefully screening their, so that we maintain the peace and tranquility of Sky Valley. But if you've been to gatherings where people are actually talking about this, there's a lot of outrage about the noise and other problems caused by a handful of short-term rentals. And to me, this ordinance is a notice to owners. Make sure that your agent or yourself are vetting tenants and explaining the rules enough so that the tenants don't cause problems. And that's really the intent of having a license that can be taken away. And Dan, it looks to me like city court's going to take care of a lot of this, but that serious infractions are going to be heard by the city council. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Doug, do you want to
So-
expound on the penalty phase and the sequence of the penalty phase in this ordinance?
Sure, I guess you've got a couple of different ways that the city is gonna regulate this. As far as like nuisance violations and things of that nature, those would be citations issued to people, and they would be going to the municipal court for those citations. You also have license issues where if a homeowner or a SDR licensee repeatedly violates our ordinances, then their license would be administratively, you'd have a hearing on that, which would be before the council. So there's a couple of different avenues that the city will have to regulate that under this ordinance.
Is that cleared up to you, Jim?
Yeah, I was just saying, I don't want to see any violations at the council.
Okay.
Because I don't want to, because I don't want the disturbance to Sky Valley that it's going to take to get that people right.
But this is gonna take care of it. And we do have a few homeowners who are not being good neighbors. Okay, any other comments from the council?
Yeah.
Yes, Steve.
I've asked this question before and haven't gotten an answer, but who is the one that is going to interpret OCGA?
That would be our attorney.
No, but interpret it to if I'm a short-term rental now, how am I gonna know what that actually says? I asked Jason one time, he said it's 48 chapters long.
It is, yeah.
So is it?
Are you referring to yourself as being the homeowner or the guest?
Well, I'm concerned here about the homeowner. In their application, they're going to have to comply with these things.
Yeah.
So is it incumbent on them to read this and know what they're supposed to do, or?
It is. And it's no different than any of our other code of ordinances that we have that reference state law. Whenever you submit yourself to certain licensing schemes, as short-term rental people are doing by trying to use their property in this manner, you have to be on notice of what the law is, both locally and state. And so what we've done is we've referenced the applicable state laws in this local ordinance. But yes, the burden is on the homeowner or the SDR applicant to know what those laws are.
So it will address fire protection, egress.
The state has certain life safety codes that the state has adopted, and all the local municipalities have adopted that have very detailed on, how many windows you have to have in a house, that sort of stuff. That, the homeowners are gonna have to follow. But the thing is, they've had to follow it anyway. They might not have known they've had to follow it, but Now they're not.
How about septic capacity as a relationship to the number of bedrooms? Is that in this?
I don't know for certainty, but I can almost guess, yes, the life safety code.
Because isn't that one of the issues that we have is that people say, you know, you can sleep 18 people here in my 3 bedrooms.
Yeah,
I think that's in the safety.
it is. I'm pretty certain it is.
I'm still not feeling very good about this. You think it's in there. I think we're gonna get into a problem where people are gonna start saying, well, I read the code, this is what it said. And the other person's gonna say, well, I read the code and I don't understand it. So who's the authority that they go to get clarification? Is it Jason or is it Jim, chief of police?
If it comes up as an issue, it would be the city perhaps writing a citation for a violation. That's the only thing I can think of it becoming an issue. And if that's the case, then you would be in municipal court and your municipal court judge would be the ultimate arbiter of whether that violation occurred or not.
I think that's rather onerous.
That's every other violation in our
Publishing
code.
The entire
Acts
code
the
for
same.
everyone. You know, I don't know how you can do it otherwise.
Yeah. One of the things I think I've come to is working through this process is we keep calling them homeowners, but in truth, what they are is business owners. They decided to go into business with a piece of property, and as any other business, you gotta operate it according to the law.
Point well taken. Right. I'm done.
Tim, I see a section in here titled occupancy. Documents in short-term rental should be subject to a maximum occupancy as determined by a definition listed in the international code. So I think they know what this occupancy is going to be. Now, when we license someone, do we note in the license what the occupancy is of this home?
The application is going to state that.
Okay.
The homeowner is going to have to state to the city, this is how many legal bedrooms they have.
Okay.
And the number of occupants per legal bedroom are defined in the code based on the size of the bedroom, not 2 per bedroom. It's, and this is where the code gets so involved. The code says that to be a legal bedroom, you've got to have 70 square feet of space. For each additional occupant, you have to have 50 additional square feet of space. So, yeah, you know, if you've got a bedroom the size of this room, you can put more than 2 people. But
Also, does
it
it
is
talk
defined.
about egress and egress?
Oh, yeah, it gets into all that too. But
Well, what about septic capacity? Does it get into that?
septic capacity is, it goes through the health department, and the septic capacity of the septic tank and the drain field are based on the number of legal bedrooms that you put in the house when those systems were put in. So if you had a 3-bedroom house at the time, your septic and drain field were sized according to that 3-bedroom plan. If you have since added bedrooms, then the health department would require you to have a larger septic tank and drain.
And I think we have a problem over Jason because some of these homes that were built in the 70s don't have documentation in Raven County as far as the septic drain field.
Raven County's documentation is horrible.
We as a city don't document.
Then there's the issue of parking spaces.
That is also going to be in the application.
Okay. So we'll.
Again, that application is gonna say, it's gonna put the onus on the homeowner to tell the city what they intend to do and what legal capacity they have for that property. If they lie to the city, they can lose the license.
Also, we have a city document that will be mandated to be posted within the premises that talks about, you know, where to call for a hospital, where to get police services, how many appropriate parking spaces there are, how many people in occupancy there should be.
It's gonna have the mayor's
It's gonna have the mayor's whole name.
Good at yourself.
And Tim's too. So, yeah, that's already posted within the premises. And you received, it looks like this, we're just working on it right now, and it's gonna talk about, where to call for emergencies, non-emergency, fire department, nearest hospital in ER, how to get a hold of City Hall, where the quiet hours are 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. Pets must be on a leash, vehicles must be parked in designated parking spaces, no parking on the road. Also, this is the we're working on a document where the homeowner will have to sign that says they're giving us correct information and they're going to follow the rules and laws as stated. Does that answer most of your questions? Anything else the council needs to ask or make comment on? Okay, we're gonna start with,
Courtney had a question.
we're gonna call it the peanut gallery.
Okay.
And you know, and if you're old, you know where they came from. If you will, when you recognize, if you'll stand, state your name.
Gordon,
and Go
I'm
ahead,
sorry,
go ahead,
Gordon
Gordon,
Grant.
go ahead.
The question I have
You have
is,
to state your name and address, I'm
Gordon
sorry,
Grant,
that's our.
647 Old Oak Way. The question I have is on designated parking areas. Last week, if our lawns, if they, the designated area is the grass area, typically I've seen people park on lawns. In our community, people don't park on lawns, they pick up their parking trucks and all of a sudden the lawn, in front of the lawn is full of parking, cars and trucks. Is that considered a designated parking area? I think we really gotta get that cleared up. What is a designated parking area?
Yes, yes,
And,
yes.
the capacity of that parking area. If you have a 3-bedroom house and you have an asphalt parking lot, is that designated to accommodate 6, 8 cars?
Depends on that parking area. I've got one behind me that is a very long driveway with a T at the end of it. I have seen a dozen cars there, and they were all on the paved driveway. So
Just depends on the property.
that's the property.
Mr. Fenwick, I think you had your hand, excuse me.
Dale Fenwick, 36 Big Bear Trail. Two things, following up on the parking. There's nothing in the ordinance. The word parking can't be found in the ordinance itself. I really think along these lines that there should be a requirement that each short-term rental have sufficient parking outside of the right-of-way. In other words, on the property itself for the number of cars that are proposed to be used there. I get the idea that not parking on the road, well, we already have that regulation. In other words, you can't park in a way that blocks traffic and especially blocks emergency vehicles. But that doesn't mean you can't be off the road and have a line of cars, almost like a city street, parallel parking, that are not on the pavement, but they're in the right of way. And I don't think that should be allowed. I think there should be sufficient parking on the property owned by the short-term rental owner. That's comment one.
We do not disagree with that, and the fact that the city already has an ordinance precluding parking on the right of way, it just needs to be enforced.
Is
It
it-
does not matter to us whether you're a homeowner or a tenant, if you're parked in the right of way, you're illegally parked.
Okay, in the right of way, okay? Now, I happen to know because I had to go through the variance process. I know exactly where the right of way is. Frankly, half of my driveway is in the right of way. Okay,
Well, that's gonna get into the city.
well,
enforcement
okay,
issue.
I mean, and maybe that's unusual because they put the right of ways. I don't know which came first, the road or the right of way. My sense is that some of these roads came first and the right of ways were plotted later. Doesn't matter. Second issue is on the permitting process. I'm really wondering, I realize it's not perhaps as detailed as getting a building permit for a new home. But if I were to apply to build a new home, I imagine it would be reviewed by the city and make sure that the design of the home as proposed is in compliance with all the applicable codes. I'm not going to get a permit from the city to build a new home that doesn't comply, right? Right. So really, although it's not maybe as detailed as a new home, I have to wonder, because you're not gonna get into the electrical, et cetera, but you are gonna get into the bedrooms, the occupancy and all that, the size of the rooms for compliance with code. Isn't getting a permit for a short-term rental gonna become kind of a short version of getting a permit for a new building, where the city's gonna get the application, gonna look at it, see if all of the appropriate codes are complied with, and then, and only then, if they are, approve it. I mean, how much different is it gonna be? You're not gonna knowingly approve a short-term rental permit that doesn't comply with the codes. I mean, if you look out on the paper and say, wait, this isn't with the code. And one of them is the septic system situation. My house was built in '84. We actually went to the county and actually found the original permit. Now, it's handwritten and the handwriting is almost as bad as mine. So, but there was a drawing which gave us a clue as to where the septic tank was located. But it took us several hours of digging with a small backhoe to find it. And it was 4 feet below grade, which told me that it had not been looked into. In fact, there was no access point for it. We actually had to cut through the concrete to get an access point to actually inspect the tank. So this was done in 2019. My guess is it hadn't been done since 1984 when it was built. Okay, but we did get that from there. I mean, I do think it is, Mr. Darrow is saying that the septic capacity is something that the city should be looking at on those permits. But on the other hand, I think we're all aware that there have been septic overflows from houses. Some short-term rentals, maybe some ones that are not short-term rentals. I mean, obviously, those are a health hazard and need to be addressed.
Our draft does address that we can close down their access to rent if, of course, if there are sewer problems.
Right.
Is that correct? Then,
Sure.
yeah,
Thank you.
is that,
Now, part of what you're getting into there is gonna fall on the city and how involved we're gonna be. I would envision, and I'm not a city employee, so I can't tell you how this is gonna work. But when that application comes in, they at least have the ability to look at the county records that are online. And if you're telling the city that you've got 18 bedrooms in your house and the county record says you have 3, they have room to question that.
also, we are thinking very strongly of hiring an internet management system, and that would be part of their bailiwick also. Does that make sense?
Yeah, whether it be the city or the
Yeah, both of us.
outside contractor.
Yeah, like you
That-
said,
that
they
would
say
be-
you have 5 bedrooms and they're advertising and then show pictures of 3 bedrooms on VRBO, obviously there's a problem. Yes, ma'am, Ms. Barbara.
Barbara Kobacker, 407 Pleasant Mountain Drive. I want to go back to the parking issue. Pleasant Mountain is an old part of Sky Valley, narrow street. Most of the renters that come in think it's a one-way. And it has no striping. The striping has washed and gone. The ditches are very, very deep because of the erosion. We all know that in Sky Valley, the erosion on the ditches. So we have 6 rentals on the street. And one of the rentals is long-term and it has 5 cars. That's okay. But these homes were built without driveways. They have parking pads. You come down the street and there's a little indentation of an asphalt parking pad. And what happens when we get renters in there is they're parking on the right of way, like parking in the ditches. They're parking all over, and that's okay, because they have no other place. But they open the car doors, and when you're coming on a narrow street and the car door opens, you've got that much space. And then you've got kids, and you've got dogs, and you've got hot tubs. Thank God they put up a fence. But there is, what I'm saying is, I wish all of you now and then would take a ride on Pleasant Mountain from the beginning to the very end It's not like Ridgepole, it's not like Saddleback, it's not like any of those streets. This is an old, narrow street, and it's full of renters. And the land isn't there, but I think it's something that you have to consider, is there are unique little places where the renters have no place to park. And it's really, I have to really slow down. And I just want you to be aware of that, and I wish we could get the road striped and the ditches raised with the rock. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
But that still doesn't allow, invite people to park there.
And there, Bruce, there is no place for them to expand. This is the problem, they have, there is no place for them to
That's-
park.
That has to be something that's enforced.
Well,
If
yeah.
there's no place, they have to make accommodations or make adjustments.
I would love to have you come ride on Pleasant Mountain with me, and give me a glass of wine, and we'll go, I'll show you.
It might take more than one.
Well, I'm not above riding on that. I just want you to look.
But you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I
If-
do.
If they don't have enough room in that area, then they have to make accommodations to shuttle or other accommodations for. Get rid of them.
It sounds to me like they're over leasing or over renting that property.
No, it's not really, it's just there's no space, and,
Well,
and
if,
here's,
if we wanted to put 400 people in this room, code doesn't allow it.
well,
You can't do it. If you want to have a 400 person event, you gotta go somewhere else.
and these are old houses, 4 bedrooms, they don't have places for 4 cars. See, that's the thing.
That's.
But and everybody is in a conundrum on this thing. And, they're nice rentals,
Understood.
and they're nice people. And the police were called because 14 of them were talking on the deck, and they got reported for being rowdy.
Who calls the police?
Barbara.
One of the neighbors. No, I'm down at the end, and I keep my hearing aids out.
I was just gonna say, Vicky Hare, 32 Saddleback Circle. Since the last meeting, we've had the problem with the parking in, 3 in the middle of the road, 2 on this side, 1 on this side. There's no way fire department could have got through. No way. I'm telling you, I sent a picture. There's no way any emergency vehicle could have gotten there, and I've had a fire, so it bothered me. I will say that since y'all have started working on this ordinance and changed some things, my neighbor did call the police, and they did come and move those cars and ask them to move. So that was the first step toward the right direction to get some help toward that. So I just wanted to say that you can call now. And before we ever started talking about this, we couldn't even call the police, but now at least we can call them and they
They could
will.
call, but they didn't have to move them immediately, so that's what our latest ordinance, what was it? Unruly house ordinance, that's what took care of it.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say, I really, it was appreciative that they did come and take care of it that quick, because you couldn't get by there.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, and it parked in the neighbor's yard, they're knocked over her bench, I mean, it's just, and they can park at the ski lodge or somewhere else and go pick them up or something.
Well, I don't know if that's an option either.
Oh, really?
They-
Well, there's
it's
got to
on
be
them
something.
to-
Anyway, just wanted to say that we did get it taken care of for the first time. This has happened 5 times.
Yeah.
5 times that road's been blocked, and that's a big road, that's Saddleback Circle's a main road over there.
Thank you for hanging in there, Vicky.
I'm trying.
You want to say something?
Madam Mayor, I'm just gonna talk about the parking. There is, we have ordinances already on the books that address the parking. We do have an application in process. Obviously, it's gonna be tweaked based on what the final outcome of this ordinance is. However, there's a property owner, when they decide to go in the business of short-term rental, when they sign that we have 3 bedrooms, we can accommodate 3 vehicles. They're entering into a contract saying this is what we're gonna do. The beautiful thing about Granicus or whatever monitoring company, if we decide to go with them, is they have the scraping technology. They're 24/7. They're constantly looking at these bookings. If they sign that they have 3 bedrooms. They sign that they have 3 parking spots. The burden would be on them. You would think that, okay, if they're advertising they have 7 bedrooms on Airbnb, Verbo, that's gonna be discovered on the scraping software. We're gonna have a conversation, okay? In your application, you put down you have 3, you're advertising 7, what's going on? The burden's on the owner to protect their license. Police have been instructed, we've had some changes as of late, if cars in the right of way, they gotta go. And so, that is one of the main intents of this ordinance is we all know is trying to find that fine balance of trying to at least make people continue. Anyway, I just want to share that. Hopefully that answers some questions.
I also, go ahead, Derek.
Derek Gillett, 27 Berkshire Lane. I bought a property and renovated it, and I'm looking at short-term rental. I'm going to be listing my short-term rental in prices that weekend warriors can afford. Because it's my property, I'm gonna take care of that. But the ordinance is a little scary to me because it seems to demonize anybody that wants to have renters. When I went by somebody's property the other day and they were having a party and there were 15 cars parked all kinds of ways and I had to maneuver getting through them. And so that, that means we have to call the police chief or something like that. I just want to make sure that it's equal game.
These rules apply to them just
For
as well.
for everyone, so that short-term.
A fire does not care if it's a short-term rental.
Exactly, or a
if it's
party,
full-time.
or
Not
whatever.
speaking to you, chief, but,
So,
the rules apply to all.
right, and one more thing, just the timeshares have been here since the beginning of. The whole beginning of time, in fact, I think those were put in with the trees. So I just want to make sure that short-term rental owners also aren't doubly taxed. There's been lots of issues. In fact, one I know of that was accused of a short-term rental when it was actually owned by numerous timeshare holders, that they were letting others come in and do things. So I want to make sure that there isn't some demonization going on in short-term rentals when timeshares have had issues for the last 45 years. And so I just want to make sure that, oh, that's a short-term rental. Maybe not. Maybe there's 50 owners of a timeshare and they're misappropriating or misusing or lending out or whatever. So that's my concern, and I'm all for structure and I'm all for signing. It's nothing like that. I just want to make sure this doesn't pigeonhole and penalize something that's just a really recalibration of timeshares that were done 50 years ago. Does that make sense? Is there any, where I'm saying to that? I don't want to demonize this new thing because this place was not built for long-term residents exclusively. It was built as a resort area. And so I think that's been murky and we've looked for who's at fault, when it's just all of us need to play by the same rules. And that's my concern, is that this ordinance double laws, as Jason said, there's already, and it seems like government just loves to make rules on rules. And so I just want to make sure that short-term rentals aren't pigeonholed or ostracized because they're trying to do something that's been here the entire time. So,
I can tell you, we've been over backwards to try to avoid that. And that's why, as I said at the beginning, this ordinance allows for short-term rentals as long as the short-term rentals comply with the existing codes and ordinances, period. It doesn't create new codes and ordinances other than the licensing requirement. You've just got to live up to the ones that already exist.
Yeah, and from the very beginning, I've emphasized that we should not be asking anything of our short-term renters that we're not already asking of everybody else in the community. That there should be one standard for everybody when it comes to parking or occupancy or
Parking,
anything else.
noise, occupancy, what have you, these codes all exist already.
Yeah. And the second thing I would say is that Sky Valley is a community. And, you know, when I was coming up here for 30 years to my parents' home, I was like a short-term renter. I was just in here and I was having a good time once a week, once for a week in the summer. I never realized until after I moved here that I was moving into a community where you know the police officers by first name. I've been on a first name basis with every city councilor since I've been here for the last 12 years. You don't have to participate in the community activities. We've got room for everybody. But when we've been successful as a residential resort. That's what we're good at. That's what we're known for. We've got 700 water connections, and we think we've got like 170 short-term rentals out there. Now, at some point, we can tip the balance between being a community and just being a service industry to recreationists. I don't think that's what we want to do. I think we want to maintain our character as a residential resort. And I don't know where the tipping point is. Is 170 close? Is it over? I don't know. But you know, there's communities that don't allow Airbnbs. There are communities that don't allow short-term rentals. That's not where we're going. But you know, that's something that I'm trying to keep track of, because when you've got a residential community, you've got people who will volunteer to do Fall Fest, run the shuttles over the 4th of July, serve on city council, serve on the committees which are active, support our local institutions. If we go 50-50, I don't know if we're going to have enough volunteers to sustain the thing that's made us great. Anybody can see that we're a beautiful place to live. We need short-term rentals because we don't have a hotel. Most of us came here because somebody invited us up here. We saw it, we loved it, and eventually made a dream come true. Some people came for the ski resort. We don't have the ski resort anymore. We need places for visitors to stay in Sky Valley so that we can replenish our homeowners. So we need short-term rentals, but we need short-term rentals in a way that can survive.
I think, Jim, also, a lot of people that I've talked to when I meet with residents, I say, how'd you find out about Sky Valley? Many of them came here as a short-term rental person.
Yeah.
So that also helps us with our residents too, yeah, but I hear what you're saying. I saw another hand, Sue. Yeah.
Sue Sprecher, 1463 Saddleback Circle. I have a question. Are we going to cap it? I mean, we are a nice community, and we've already had experiences with rentals. My brother and his wife had used Airbnb. Airbnb subcontracted out, and they ended up with a house full of construction people and destroyed her stove, did all kinds of things. And Airbnb was very sorry, but why are they allowed? That can happen. Jim, I appreciate everything you're saying. I think we are a beautiful community. We are a community. And if we don't cap the rentals and these weekend things, why a weekend? Can it be at least a week? You know, something that makes them more responsible. We have, and I know Dale knows this too, cherry bombs going off at 11 o'clock at night. And I know they want to hear, rattle around, and that's fine. But there's issues, and I just don't know that we want to continue to where we lose our community. We're new to this whole idea. I hadn't heard, and I have not read your documents there, but is there a number? You said 170 now or so renters?
That's what one of the internet companies said. They looked on the internet and that they found 169 rentals in Scottsdale.
My question is, are we gonna cap that?
So to answer that question, if you read in the Wall Street Journal and some other periodicals, there is a prediction now that there's so many short-term rentals that they're not gonna be able to sustain themselves. So I think we're,
Nutrition's gonna take care of it.
yeah, and I think what's gonna happen when this code comes in place, we're gonna lose some of these people. And unfortunately, they bought these houses thinking that they could generate enough revenue to cover the mortgage on them. And that may not be the case, but I think the market's take care of it.
Could it ever be restricted in a case like Pleasant Mountain to have 6 rentals on that little street? I can't imagine. Could it be that you're only allowed so many on the street, or something like that? I don't know.
Who then would determine which?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Do you want to answer that as far as Joe?
The code that we are proposing to adopt does not cap any short-term rentals. It's open-ended. I know the council kicked that idea around at the very beginning. I did some research. There are some jurisdictions around the country that have gone to like a lottery system and they've given out, they cap the number and then you got a license based on your name being drawn out of a hat. That's been a part of some litigation. I don't know if that would work here in Georgia or not, but if we get to that point, I'll research the issue further, but as of right now, we're not proposing a cap.
Most short-term rentals, I'm gonna say this, most short-term rentals are following it. This is, to me, this is really for the ones that just are not following any noise, parking, trash. I mean,
Isn't that always the case?
that's really and truly, that's really what I see, because I know a lot of short-term, they take care of their property. They're here, they take care of their property, they're doing a great job. Nobody's got a problem with that. This is to protect people like my neighborhood, they, they know what I want. I mean, parking's a problem, trash is a problem, noise is a problem, all in one thing, so.
That's the way most laws are.
And I mean, that's all I can say about that.
I saw a hand back here, yes, ma'am.
So my name is Rita Billingsley, and I'm on 327 Rebel Circle. My family has been here for generations and generations, and I love this area, but my work has taken me overseas. And so a couple of years ago, I actually was able to buy a property here in Scott Valley, and I love it, and my family loves it. And we love being able to come here, for 3-4 months, whatever we can spare back here, because we're also trying to run businesses overseas, right? So, but that gives us the opportunity, the short-term rental process gives us the opportunity to be able to secure a future retirement for our family and to continue to really have a presence here in this area that I love and that my family has loved for forever. So I've been tracking the short-term rental ordinance and just checking to see what direction it's going, and I just want to applaud the efforts. I think that there's been a lot of thought that's gone into this, the revisions and the drafting processes and the and so that it's just been really appreciated, because I think the latest version that I'm seeing really does recognize that there are a standard set of codes, laws and regulations which apply to everyone, whether it's your second home, whether you have some rentals, or whether you're just trying to be a good citizen in the community that you reside in, right? And so I appreciate the direction that it's taken. And I also think that it's trying to do the best within the framework to recognize that there are rights of landowners to be able to make some decisions about the property that you own, but at the same time, there's a heavy set of responsibilities. So if you're moving into short-term rental, you've got to do it responsibly, and you've got to be able to do that and do that well. So we've had really, really great experience with our clientele, no issues, but we also really do our due diligence in terms of vetting our clients making sure we know who's coming in, and we've got reams of regulations and rules around quiet hours, around, how to really, rent and rent responsibly. And then, my mother, my family, we're here and we are always on call and always making sure that we've got a really close level of supervision for those properties. Yeah. So I just wanted to make a comment to say that I really appreciate that not every short-term rental is the same. I did have a question when I read through this version of the ordinance about the application process and the licensing process. So I was able to just see the one-pager application. Initially, my fear was that a lot of what was included in previous versions, the level of granularity and detail in the previous versions of the ordinance, would be just shifted into the application process. But I think it has been a leveling. If you are a homeowner, if you are managing short-term rentals, you have to abide by certain rules, regulations, laws, which govern this community. And I think that's really important. Yeah. I did have a couple of questions though about the licensing fee and how those ranges were going to be set. It's no longer present in the ordinance. So how that would be reviewed and approved or set forward, in the future. And then also the excise fee payment. It's my understanding, at least from my experience, that a lot of those duties and taxes are remitted directly. If you're using a platform like an Airbnb or a Vrbo, what have you, it's remitted directly to the city, etc. So I just want to make sure that that was the case, because I did see the clause about the monthly remitted Rita billings.
The excise tax, hotel tax, is Georgia law, and that's remitted to the state, and then they pay the city. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's slated to go 8% September 1st.
Okay, and then the other issue was just around the licensing fee and how that would be reviewed, approved, and as I understand it, there is also an annual renewal, which is being proposed, so I just want to make sure that the fees are reasonable and remain so.
The planning and zoning, participation, when we had several internet companies give us, their proposals. And one of the questions that we asked of the internet companies was, how are fees established, mostly by the agencies, the cities? And the answer was they would usually take an average of a daily rate. Okay, so we are proposing at this point a $300 a year license fee, which includes a occupational license fee and business fee all combined into one. So that's that, and that is one of the reasons on the next meeting we're amending our fee schedule. So that would be incorporated in that particular amendment. Does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
And it is an annual, you have to sign up, re-up every year and pay that fee. Okay?
Holly, if I own 5 houses, do I need 1 license or do I need 5 licenses?
I think
One per.
Okay.
You have one for each house or resident that you may have.
Well, if I have one party house, can I lose all 5 licenses or?
No, it would just be for that particular party house, I would assume.
Okay.
Good, great question, Jim. Yes,
Hello,
sir.
can the people on Zoom speak? Yep.
Yeah, I won't forget you. Is that Carla?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got another one too.
We'll get you, Carla.
Just, will it have to be can it be re-signing the application from the year before, or do you come in and spend
I don't know.
half an hour
I don't
filling
know,
every
and
single thing
we're
back
talking
out?
about whether we're gonna put the application online.
Right.
We haven't worked out all those details yet, but great question.
Does it start January 1st, or would it start when you put?
We don't know yet. We have to finalize this amendment, and then we will do that at our next meeting in September. We have to do a second reading. This is by law. And then the council can vote on it, and then we'll get into the specifics at that point. Thank you. All right.
So this can't pass till September?
Pardon?
This can't pass till September?
We cannot pass this until September.
Oh, what's this up to?
That's, you know, it's bureaucracy.
Yes, she did.
Every year.
Yeah, Bruce, and then we gotta get to Carla.
I have a quick question. If you have a 3-bedroom house, how many cars should be allowed? If you have a 5-bedroom house, how many cars should you be allowed? If you have a 4-bedroom house, how many cars, as far as a rental, would be allowed? Is that something that's enforceable? Is that something we want to put in an ordinance so it has some teeth?
That all goes to the parking available.
That's right.
If you've got a 5-bedroom house and nothing but a single car parking pad, on cars, you're gonna have to put all the occupants of all 5 bedrooms into one vehicle.
Or shall.
Yeah.
Or shuttle back and forth. The point is, if you're operating any business, I don't care if it's a restaurant or anything else, you've got to have the capacity within your property to operate your business. If you don't have enough parking, then you can't put more parked cars there than you have parking available. If you don't have enough bedrooms, you can't put more people in there than you have bedrooms to accommodate. If you're running a restaurant, you can't put more people than you've got licensed seats. It all works the same.
Okay, well, now notice our Zoom people, if you'll. bring
Okay,
on-
Jody Norwood has asked a question for a while. Go ahead, Jody.
Okay, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, name and address.
Yeah.
Speak.
Jody.
There we go. I got it. My name is Jody Norwood, 2420 Ridgepole Drive. And I have several questions. Who's responsible for applying for the occupational license? Is that the management company like Evolve or VRBO, or is it the homeowner?
The homeowner.
Okay, my next question is regarding the ordinance. It said that egress needs to be from every bedroom. I don't know every bedroom that has an outside door, but we have every bedroom has access to get out of to get to an outside door. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, hold on, and Dan will answer that.
Again, that gets into international building code, and these are codes that have existed for years. If you don't have an outside door, you must have an outside window. And that window, there are prescribed sizes for that window, and as well as height off the floor, etc. People have got to be able to get out of the bedroom in the event of a fire, period.
Egress outside of the house, not just outside of that room.
Correct.
So an interior door, I'm a builder, so an interior door and a secondary interior door are not sufficient because you're not able to get out of the house.
That's correct.
Okay, my question, am I still able to speak? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we have a bedroom, every bedroom has a door to the outside except one, and that has exit through the Jack and Jill bathroom into the other bedroom so they can get out. It has 2 exits, therefore, to get out of that bedroom. Will that count?
No.
Pardon me?
Oh, it has to be an exit to the outside of the building.
Well, the room has 2 windows, but it has a bathroom connected to it's a Jack and Jill bathroom, and it goes through the other bedroom, which has an exit door. I mean, my house doesn't have every exit out of the house except for my windows, which is fine. But I was very confused by that part of the ordinance.
If the windows are of sufficient size to meet the code, then they do qualify as an exit.
24 by 20.
No.
Okay.
24 by 30.
No,
What is it?
I don't have it in front of me.
minimum requirements for an egress window, 24 inches high, 20 inches wide, and at least 5.7 square feet. It's not 24 by 20, it's not 24 by 30. The minimum size is 24 high, 20 wide, and at least 5.7. So if you have a exactly 24 inch high window,
you have to make it wide enough to meet the 5.7 square feet for egress, and it has to go to the outside, it cannot go into another room. But you do not need a door to the exterior.
Did that answer your question, Jody?
It does, it does. And I thank you.
You're welcome. All right, who else do we have online?
Carla's online, then I have some questions from chat.
So which one you want to go?
Carla, she's
Let's go
next.
to Carla.
Okay, hi, everyone. First of all, I do appreciate your time in spending so much thought and time on the ordinance. And I would just like to go back to what Tim said. I've tried to.
You gotta do
Sorry?
You have to do the name and address when you go.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Carla Stahl, 74 Red Wolf Trail, and also 81 Bayberry Lane.
Do what?
We have,
No.
Judy, your mic is still on. You need to mute yourself. At any rate, my question goes back to what Tim said about the OGCA. Can you please, I've tried looking at that online and also the fire code and all that. A lot of it seems to be commercially, it doesn't really seem to apply to residential. And I know there are some sections that do. And I would appreciate it if the city would outline for us the specific, maybe in a handout or whatever, the specific line items that we need to comply with, because I really wasn't able to find, anything that I could decipher. I don't have insomnia, so I wasn't able to stay up reading all that. But at any rate, if you could help us with that, I would appreciate it, because I can't say that I've complied with something if I haven't found the information. That was my only comment, is I would like to know. And I do kind of join the gentleman from Berkshire Lane's thoughts. I understand the parking, but delineating between short-term rentals and people who live here and the use of bedrooms is shaky ground for the city. If you're going to not allow people who live here full-time to use those rooms as bedrooms, then that's one thing. But if you're going to single out short-term rentals, that's another. So just a comment, but I do support the ordinance in its current form. But if we could have that specific information from those codes sent to us or printed or somewhere that we can reference specifically what applies to us, because particularly that National Fire Protection Code is, multiple pages long, and a lot of it applies to commercial buildings, not homes. So that's all.
Thanks, Carla. Doug, is there some way we can delineate what sections of that 42,000 page thing?
I just want to make clear, this ordinance does not add any additional requirements or duties on property owners. You already have these requirements and duties under these codes. You perhaps were not aware of it until now, but I understand that if somebody's going to certify on this application that they're following these regulations, we need to probably put that online. I'll get with Jason and the applicable sections. Maybe we can scan and put in online so that people can.
Jim, when you approve a set of drawings to build a house, do you confirm that they comply with all these regulations?
Yes.
Chief. How about fire codes?
Fire codes are broken into two different sections. One's existing, one's new. Told you this a couple months ago, you guys are gonna get into hornet's nest with this, because you're taking existing structures and turning them into new structures. Once you change the occupancy from a single family house into a rental property, you are going, like Jim said, you are going from a residence to a business. You are creating a new business. So it falls under ideal in the fire safety, life safety codes. You're falling into new codes. Like Jim's saying, any house that is built now has to meet the egress requirements of these people. My house was built in 1982. My bedrooms do not meet the egress required by the new codes. And my windows, my windows aren't tall enough, let's put it that way. if I was going to, change my house into short-term rental, I'm creating a new business. It has to fall under the new codes. There is no existing new codes. All right, there are new codes and there are existing codes. If I was to go to short-term rental, I would have to replace at least 4 windows in my house. Problem you guys and Jim's gonna run into, is gonna come down to these people that apply for these licenses, and you go out into these houses that were built in the 80s or the 90s before the new existing codes. You have to apply new codes to them. Okay, you go in there and say, okay, you know, what this young lady was saying about the windows. Okay, you have to replace this window. It has to be 24 high, at least 20 inches wide, 5.7 square feet in total square footage. Plus, it can't be too far off the floor. It can't be, you know, all the rest of that. It costs about $10,000 a window. That is the problem you always run into. But with Jim, these new plans, they are new plans. They are not existing plans. When you guys go out and do your inspections, whether, you know, Jim goes out, members of council go out, I go out, whatever, we have to go by new single-family codes. Okay, they have to have smoke detectors in the right place, the windows have to be the right size, the doors have to be the right size for egress and all the rest of that. Address has to be properly placed. We don't care about existing codes, and that's where the whining is gonna come in. These people have had these houses for decades. Okay, and now all of a sudden we're telling them, you gotta retrofit the whole thing. That's up to y'all. That comes under enforcement, what you can do with that. Me, I have a very simple job. Okay, I'm reactive, after the fact. Okay, my job is to protect lives and property. I can do it before I have to actually put somebody in a body bag. I'm doing good. That's a good day. We get into this, you guys, like I said, I've done this before. I used to be a fire marshal for the city of Daytona Beach. That's a little bit bigger than Sky Valley. And it about drove me to my grave at 30 years old.
I'm glad it didn't, and
Yeah. I have
would you, somehow delineate that information for the homeowners that are signing up for this?
It's not a problem.
Okay.
The thing is, our egress code is very simple. We put it in one paragraph there.
If you can do that, that would be great.
It's already done there in the life safety code.
Okay, it's in the
already done.
ordinance?
We not refer to the entire code, you know, 48 pages long.
Right.
Those 48 pages, maybe half of one applies to us. All right, that's what we do. And most of this is done. All right, but don't refer in volume to these people. There's no commercial aspect to it other than single family, current single family codes.
Thank you.
It's extremely simple.
Thank you, sir.
Can I just say one thing? These codes, you know, there's not somebody in some high tower somewhere thinking up new codes that people have to live by. The codes exist because somebody somewhere died in a fire, period. Think about that. Think about what your insurance company is gonna do to you if you have warehoused somebody in a non-complying bedroom and they die. Burden on yourself. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Jason.
I was gonna say, I know we're going long here, but I just wanted to say that this ordinance as written puts the burden on the applicant owner. If their property does not, they're certifying that they meet all of these new codes. If they do not do that, they need to come in and pull building permits and submit plans to bring their home into compliance. But by their signature and to protect their license, they are certifying that, and so that's part of the process. If they need to retrofit, whatever they need to do, the burden's on them to do that.
I somewhat disagree with that. When they come in and apply for your license, Jim should go out, or Jim and I should go out right then and there, meet them there and say, here's your license, this is the wording on your license, we're gonna go and inspect this, okay, until it meets his approval. Okay, that wouldn't go by somebody's signature saying that. We're doing our due due diligence by going out and doing an inspection. I mean, that's why they're paying the permit. The permit is for us to go out and make sure they're doing things right. That is to basically compensate the city for our time to go out and protect them, not to make money, okay? Not to just put a number on something, okay? It's to pay for the manpower to go out there and check on it. Now, when we get a tree permit, you don't just go in there, hopefully, don't just come in and get a tree permit because it costs money to, look at the permit or whatever. Jim's supposed to go out and look at the trees, make sure they're marked right and the right size and all the rest of that, and he's got a certain number of trees on that property. It's to pay us, or y'all, not me. It's to pay you,
Not us.
yeah. Yeah. But it's for the city to do the due diligence, okay? If they come in and sign off something saying everything is cool, and we don't go out and do the inspection, it's not on them. They may not know how to use a ruler, or they use the metric size instead of the English side, or the American Standard side of the ruler. If we don't go out and do the inspection, it's on the city.
What say ye, Mr. Kidd?
We considered that, and in earlier drafts of this ordinance, we did place the burden on the city to go out and do inspections. During discussions of that, it was determined that it would be, we did not have the manpower to do that. Because we're pushing upwards of 200 homes that are currently short-term rentals, and we expect that to increase. We did not have people here to do these thorough inspections. We also considered possible, basically, that we did not want the city to get in to vouching for these homes as far as the safety of it. And so we put the burden on the applicant to do so, and that's where the ordinance stands as of right now.
Comments from council?
I would be more comfortable, and my concern is the number of parking spaces, because we heard Dan talk about, place with a long driveway where they can get a dozen vehicles in. But you can't, only one of those vehicles can get out, and so everybody, all the other 11 are blocked. So I might be able to park 4 people, and maintain ingress and egress for each of those 4. But I could probably squeeze 7 or 8 cars in there, but then people have to back up a hill, or, back down a hill, or, I'd be more comfortable if we had somebody actually look at how many parking spaces were at each house that applies. Somebody going out, taking a look at it.
Excuse me, Mayor, I have a question.
Sir.
Actually, I have a comment. Jim Byron, building inspector, also a resident, 1999 Ridgeville. Doing my daily code enforcement, and driving around, I know of a number of not short-term rentals, but full-time residents that park in the right of way. I've talked to the police about it. They're not hindering emergency vehicles, first responders. It's not high on their hit list. But, and again, I'm playing devil's advocate here as far as the short-term rentals. These are full-time residents. I know several of these homes, they don't have enough parking, and yet they've got enough residents living full-time 24/7 in these houses. They're parked in the right of way. So I'm not sure how that will be addressed, but I wanted to bring that up because we keep talking about parking and short-term rentals. We've got to look at all of them, as we've mentioned here a couple of times.
Parking is an issue in Sky Valley.
Thank you.
Rita Solomon, 18 Nesting Eagle Lane. It's a short question, it's probably addressed in there. Is there a requirement to have fire extinguishers and smoke alarms? So many, how many per bedroom, or how many? Because I just got to thinking, I don't think I have one in my house. I have it down in Fairfield. In August, I'm gonna go to the store now.
Free to see the fire chief.
Fire extinguishers. Smoke
They got a
alarms.
house, how many stories?
It's a 3-story actually. 3, I mean 3, okay. I was just thinking, I've got to move from, the office here.
Where you going? By the way, those are only good for a year.
That's
They're
got
only good for a year.
Okay.
I think I have some in there. They're-
Okay, we have anybody else online?
Brittany Hamilton, did you want to ask a question? I can read it. Her question says, are you telling homeowners how many cars they can have depending on number of bedrooms? Is there a standard? I don't think so. No, maybe. Should be based on space, I would think.
It's not based on bedrooms, it's based on parking spaces that they have available.
Okay, one more question. Will we be getting a grace period to apply for this license, and when is it effective if it passes?
We don't know that. But yes, there will be a grace period. Yes.
I think everybody's missing that they're not homeowners, they're gonna be a business again. And that, we're talking about like, there's two different things. One is business, they'll be considered a business.
Correct.
And homeowners would be different. Short-term rentals is here. The city would have to go back and do for homeowners and all. I mean, that's my understanding, am I correct?
That's correct.
That it's a business.
You're correct. Anything else, Sharon?
No.
Okay.
This lady brought up a great
Ted,
point.
tell us who you are again.
My name is Ted Zimmerman, and I reside at 1164 Alex Mountain Drive. If the city deems it a business, does that mean it's a non-residential, but it's a business? And consequently, should they have water rates that are applicable to commercial customers as opposed to residential? About the taxation and the assessment of that property. Or if it's declared business. I'm sure someone has addressed that issue.
Well, obviously, regular residents don't have to pay the hotel motel tax, so the excise tax. The other questions, Doug, you want to take?
Yeah, we did not change for the water rates on that. It's still considered residential as far as the water rates are concerned. What was the other example you brought up?
Well, the ad valorem tax assessment.
Yeah, no.
That is, there are different standards for residential dwellings as opposed to commercial or business related.
We have not changed that either in this. They're still going to be considered residential properties for ad valorem tax assessment. What the mayor did say is that they will be paying the hotel motel tax, which is 8%, I believe. And so that's what the tax revenue is.
Is there a special taxation rate either issued by the county or by the city that would be different if it was a business as declared or stipulated by the city?
We are not doing that. Could we, are you asking, could we?
Could we, or can the county, or should that be looked into? You know, you've got county taxes and you have city taxes, and let's see, for Clayton County, I might be a resident. For the city of Sky Valley, you're being declared a business, either I am or I'm not.
As of right now, Ted, we've done a lot of work with the county and the other municipalities, and they are not changing any of that. Okay, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Sort of, kind of.
I was just gonna say, you have to change the zone for all those locations, because the zone residential, not right. Anyway, so it's all stuff in the box.
The county's dealt with all that, they had to do some grandfathering in and so forth, as far as zoning and so forth, yeah. But great question, thank you. Anything else that we missed? All right, raise your hand if you had fun. Okay, all right, we are past due our next meeting, so do I hear a motion for adjournment? Thank you, Tim, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank y'all for coming.